Hello, Trigger Bar Philosopher, coming back at you with a new gun review. Pretty excited to show you what I have just received. I've got the PSA Rock 5-point caliber and caliber 5.7 by 28. This is a pretty exciting, relatively new round. Came out in the 90s by FN, and FN had the only sort of pistol that you could shoot up until maybe 2 years ago when Ruger came out with a Ruger 5.7. And then earlier this year was announced, and then they came out with the PSA Rock chambered in caliber 5.7 by 28. So let's take a look at what they give us in this unboxing video. We'll just take a quick look around and see what we have. All right, so let's just take the gun out first. We have this great case that comes in here. We've got of course, the spot for holding the pistol. We've got this case over here for holding some of the manuals and the chamber safety. It comes with 2 magazines. I actually saw on PSA right after I bought it that this had a sale going on for a round of ammunition and 5 other magazines for $100. So I pulled the trigger because normally the 5 magazines would cost you $100. So they threw in an extra box of 5.7 ammo, which is not cheap. And sometimes, depending on your store, maybe $1 a round. So I felt like that was a good deal. So I now have a total of 7 magazines for this PSA Rock. Let's take a look at the Rock itself. I got the extended barrel or threaded barrel version. I don't have at the moment, but I have 2 22 suppressors that are capable of holding the or firing with the Ruger or with the FN 5.7 bullet. I have the Silencer Co. Sparrow and the Wolfman or the Dead Air Mask. Both have been in ATF prison. The Mask has been in for over a year, and there's a long story on that, but it may take even longer before I can pick it up. And the Sparrow I recently purchased out of frustration of waiting for the other one so long, and I'm hoping that one comes through a lot quicker because it's going through the e-file system and should be ready a lot sooner. All right, I digress. Let's get back to this pistol. One of the first things that I noticed that was really interesting is how low or high the bore axis is on this 5.7 and how thin that slide is. It reminds me a lot of the CZ guns. You know, when I get my hand on here, look at how high up that slides. So maybe it's a high bore axis, I don't know, but the slide is super high and super thin. So that looks different to me. Obviously this weapon is safe. It has a chamber flag in it. Let's get the chamber flag out. Has normal sort of very similar to a Glock type of manual of arms on this. So slide stop here, takedown levels here, manual or magazine release there. Very, very similar type manual of arms, but as you can see, this gun is empty. So as I understand, for the takedown, you slide back a little bit, you pull that off, and the slide comes off. So this is the slide. This is the recoil spring. This is the barrel. You can see as it's fluted. I'm going to have to probably get something to help me get the thread protector off of here, but I got it. I really like that it does have a washer in here to keep that thread protector snugly on so that when you're firing it doesn't come loose. I've heard and seen other videos comparing this barrel to the Ruger 5.7 barrel, and that this barrel is quite a bit heavier, even though it does have those slide serrations out, and that goes to you know, just sort of helping a little bit more weight up front and control recoil on it. Not that the 5.7 is a hard-hitting round. And in fact, when I get a little bit into philosophy of use, that's what I'm going to talk about, of why I like this and what my intention for this gun is, and we'll see how that plays out. I'm not going to keep taking it down. So you can see this pretty normal, pretty standard sort of Glock manual of arms, takedown, you know, reassembly. All of those things seem just extremely familiar. So not gonna change anything from that. So let's get back to reviewing the gun and taking here some of my thoughts on what this gun's philosophy of use is. Okay, let's just hold the mail and let's review a little bit what just happened. So I was talking through taking this thing down and taking it apart, and I was saying that this had a very similar manual of arms to like a Glock 19. Actually, it's a little bit different. Let me just show you again how you take this slide off. You push in here, and really that just comes out. You hold that down. That's a little different from the whole slide out. As you're gonna see here, it has this backstop, and then this, I don't know if I can see it, but that little thing up there, I don't even know what it's called. Normally you just kind of put it on here and slide back, but as you can see, that just hits right in the, you know, this little part here. Let me see if I can get some more light on it. Hits right in there. And so you can't just do it. This thing kind of goes down. You have to kind of push it down in place. And from there, then you pull these slide things down, and you can just plop it right almost directly into its spot. So that's how you put the slide back on. It is just a little bit different, a little bit hokier than maybe what you might traditionally be used to. So I don't know if that will help someone, but let's go on to discussing the rest of this pistol. Okay, so let's just get back to looking at the Ruger, or the PSA Rock 5.7, and take and see what the trigger pulls look at. One of my mentors and friends that I consider a friend is LW Road, and LW Road today came out with a video comparing the trigger pulls on the PSA Rock, the Ruger 5.7, the FN 5.7. And he unfortunately only had the Ruger 5.7. I wish I could have lent him my gun so he could have done a comparison, but we live very far apart. So I will do this on this gun to show you what is trigger pulls I'm getting. According to Gun Mag Warehouse, they're saying they're getting trigger pulls of around 4.4 ounces. Let's just take a look and see what we get here. Okay, that one is saying is right around 4 pounds. I don't think that's right. I think I did something wrong with the pull. It does not feel like a 4-pound trigger. Actually, a little bit of a weird thing, especially if I'm coming from the side, but straight back. Let's just get the straight back and make sure that we get it. We don't do something weird on this. So I'm trying to get the bottom of that trigger, a little tricky for my untrained view, and do it on camera. So here we go. That time, let's see, is around 6 pounds. I don't know if I'm doing that right or what. Let's just do a couple more just to see what it does. Maybe I'll go over on top this time. Times around 6.5 pounds. Just got a couple more on here, just see what it is. Certainly feels heavier than 4 pounds, 4.4 pounds, or 4 pounds, 4 ounces. I think that's what he said it was, but feels like a good trigger, but it just feels a little heavier than that. And again, yeah, 6.5 pounds, somewhere around there. I do think it's gonna lighten up. I will say it feels heavy, but it's very crisp. There's a little bit of take up, so let's kind of just walk through it. So obviously that's just kind of taking off the trigger safety, a little bit of take up, right? That's all mushy, or not mushy, that's just kind of take up in it. Then you hit a wall, and it feels like a very distinct wall. And then once you hit the wall, it's just like a millimeter kind of there, and that's the heavy part. So let's do the reset. and look what the trigger reset is. So I don't know, let's do that trigger reset again. Goes out to there, so I don't know, maybe a couple millimeters, and then back in we can do, again, not much. There's not much on the real part of the trigger. Again, it has that take up to the wall, which, you know, is not very 1911-ish, but is very common in striker fires. And I think some people will like that. Those are used to shooting a P320, P365. They'll be used to that, but then I would say that it's much crisper once it hits the wall there. So that's pretty nice, but it does take a little bit of strength. It's not just a real light trigger. I don't know if this will lighten up over time. I'll have to follow up with videos, but interesting that maybe mine's just a little heavier than the ones that have tested. Maybe Gun Mag tested it after firing a lot. I've only taken it out and shot about 50 rounds through this. And so we'll take a look at that in future videos and see if this lightens up. Okay, so I have just a little bit of you know, to compare size comparisons. Again, this is the PSA Rock. This is my MR920 Shadow Systems, also with the threaded barrel. See, I have the TLR7 Streamlight light on it, which I like there. It's got a Holosun 509T with the green dot on it. I like that. Not sure if that's visible or not, but I'm not gonna spend the time doing that. Really love how this gun feels. I love it with the magwell especially. I have shot this gun in USPSA without the magwell, but I just love the magwell because it puts upward pressure in here. And this whole area in here just feels so tight, and I feel like I'm jammed up against this beaver tail, and I just get a great purchase on it. Honestly, this is like one of my most accurate handguns that I own. I have no idea why I shoot it so accurately, but it's really awesome for that. So you can see that when compared to the 5.7 Rock, Rock has a little bit longer of a slide. Of course, then with the the threaded barrel, even a little bit longer than that. It also obviously has just a little bit longer of a grip length, but so more like a Glock 19. But also it's a bit thinner, right? So I'm not sure how well you're seeing that, but you know, it appears, you know, to be quite a bit thinner. So let's just take a quick, you know, measurement of the, you know, we get around, I don't know, for the Glock, it's a little over an inch and a quarter. Yeah, about 1.25 inches. And looks like on the PSA Rock, it's like, I don't know, I'd put it in P365 thin is how thin, or X macro thin is how I'd put this PSA Rock, which I think is really good for, even though it's like not a great carry gun, I could definitely see myself carrying this because it's so thin. And I think thinness makes a big deal when you're trying to conceal carry. But barrel length, you know, I can go down inside your pants or along your leg or whatever without really bothering you too much. So I don't think that'll get in the way. It's also not a super heavy gun. I'll get my scale out here in a second, but let me compare one more gun. This is the P365 Legion, P320 Legion. I've got the Align tactical thumb grip so that when you get on this thing, you can really do it. This is the gun that I shoot in USPSA. This was made legal this year. I really like that. I feel like I have a lot of good control. I have the Trijicon SRO. I think it's like the 5 MOA dot on there. But I really like it. I'm still getting used to shooting this gun. I've got all the tungsten weights in the guide rod and in the back of it to really help make this heavy. It's a heavy gun. But let's just take a look at sort of like the size dimensions on this. Again, quite a bit thinner of a gun. Definitely quite a bit lighter. So at any rate, let me pull out the scale and we can take a look at it that way. Okay, so let's get the scale. We got the scale out now. I'll just take a couple of comparisons here to just let you get the feel of it. So here's the PSA Rock, no optics on it, no optics kind of plate cover for that. I don't even know if that comes with it, but at any rate, so let's just see what the weight is. So pretty good, 22 ounces, 22.5 ounces. That's with the threaded barrel extension on there. Again, my shadow systems with a big chunky optics plate on there is just a little bit heavier. So overall, this is a bit lighter of a gun, 22.75. And then let's see what this chunky boy weighs in at. This is 42.5 ounces, so a big chunky boy up with that, with all of the accessories and tungsten guide rods and all of those things in it. Okay, so first impressions of the PSA Rock. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to roll some footage. I got it out to the range. I shot 50 rounds. I will say on the very first shot, I had a failure to extract. I was a little disappointed with that. I shot the rest of the 50 rounds without a single problem. I have not cleaned it, but I did lube it before I took it to the range, and I was pretty happy with that. I'm feeling like that. I think a gun, if it's going to malfunction the first or second time that it fires, I'm okay with that, as it needs a little bit of break-in, maybe getting the lube around, something like that. But after that, there was flawless and really pretty accurate and tight shooting groups. I'm not great at shooting with iron sights, but when I felt like I was on, I could hit pretty easy with the round. So then let me get now into the philosophy of use for this gun. Okay, so here's my thoughts. There's lots of videos. You can go see Paul Harrell. You can go see TFB TV. You can go see any number of people talking about the power of the 5.7. I know there are loads that are very powerful. There are some loads out there that will definitely defeat a lot of different types of body armor in a pistol, but they're hard to get. So Hornady and FN restrict, meaning it's not illegal to buy them, but by choice they say we don't want these rounds getting into the hands of civilians, and so they restrict the sales to government or law enforcement only. I don't really agree with that practice, but it is what it is. There are definitely other people that reload for this gun and sell those reloads that are very powerful. And so you can get a loading that is pretty screaming fast, over 2,100 feet per second squared, or feet per second, that put a pretty big hit on the target and are approaching 9mm, maybe not plus P, but 9mm energy foot-pounds on a target. Also, a pretty neat thing with this gun, though, is it actually loads in 23 rounds, and I've also loaded in 24, so one in the chamber, 24 in here. You've got 25 rounds that you're shooting of a fairly powerful self-defense round. So would 5.7 be a round that I would choose for me to carry a self-defense? Well, not normally. I would want to go something heavier, like a plus P 9mm or a 10mm. But where I think this is going to shine is I'm really intending this to be my wife's home defense gun. My wife is extremely recoil sensitive. She really just doesn't want to shoot unless it's a 22 long rifle. I think there are going to be some aspects of this that are super easy for her to shoot, like the recoil is very limited, and I think she can handle the recoil. It still is loud coming out of this, which is why I hope to have the silencer on it. But beyond that, I think this is something that for someone who really just can't handle the recoil of a 380 or a 9mm, this is definitely below that in recoil. Very flat shooting, very easy to make follow-up shots. Also, I really like the manual of arms, meaning this is just a traditional striker-fired gun, unlike the FN 5.7 and the Ruger 5.7, which are double-action hammer-fired guns. The reason I like that is it has all the built-in safety features of the striker-fired, so you don't really need an external safety. This additionally has the trigger safety, like a la Glock, which I also really like. So for my wife, bump in the night, we've trained with good trigger discipline. She doesn't have to remember to flip up or flip down to get the safety off. She can really use this and handle this gun in a self-defense when I'm not around. or she's called on to do that. I think that that's really one of the great niches of this. I mean, just for kicks and giggles and fun sake, I will likely get a holster for this and carry it myself. But for the most and primary reason, this is going to be for fun range use. And then also next to my wife's bedside table, we certainly have other guns and other things like that she'll be able to shoot if she can get to a rifle. But as a primary quick grab, a pistol, this is the thing that I'm thinking for. So I'd like to hear from all of you. What do you think? What is the use of the 5.7? Is there a use other than it's fun to shoot? That certainly is true. Do you think it has uses in self-defense, personal defense? Is it your bug out gun? You know, you can carry a ton of ammunition, 24 rounds in this magazine. A box of 50 is really tiny and small. Or is this just impractical and you know rather you have 22 Magnum or 22 long rifle or 9mm or 10mm? Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. And also, if you wouldn't mind, please hit the like button and please subscribe to my channel if you like this type of content. Again, this is Trigger